Adesso andiamo a chiacchierare con il professore, ok? The Professor, è il proprietario di questo canale, Balatro University, che mi ha insegnato tutto quello che so su Balatro. Ha partecipato a, credo, il primo torneo di Balatro ufficiale che c'è stato e ha vinto. Il tipo è uno squilibrato, veramente uno forte, 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 forte. Procedo al chiamarlo. Hello?
Hello?
Professor!
Hello, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, sorry. How would you like to be referenced? What should I call you?
It's the same. You can call me Enk. You can call me colleague. No, I'm kidding. Enk, it's okay.
Okay, fellow professor, how about that?
Yeah, wonderful. A bit lengthy, but wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
So, first of all, let me say it's an honor to be able to speak with you. You have been the company of most of my nights before going to sleep. I put you on some of your videos, then sometimes I fall asleep, then I recover the rest of the video the day after, of course. And so, yeah, thanks for joining us and for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I've prepared some. I did a little introduction for the chat, and I've prepared some questions for you. You have not spoken much about yourself, so if some questions are too much or whatever, just skip them, and it's no problem.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm an open book. I guess I just really haven't had much opportunity yet, to chat. So I'm really glad that we're doing this now. I did watch the intro. It was in Italian, of course, so I didn't know what you were saying, but you were smiling a lot, so I'm assuming you were saying good things.
Maybe I'm a great actor, who knows? I only have good words for you, yeah. Because, I mean, we will get into that in the chat. But your approach to the game, I think it's wonderful, Maybe, I guess it stems from from your academic career. And maybe my academic career, since we are both going that way. But I really like your approach. I like that your videos are, there are no cuts. It's really just the time is needed. So, there's now this approach on the internet of very fast content, TikTok and whatsoever. Yeah. So it's refreshing to see some long content. I would say slow content, I call it.
Yeah. It's not for everybody. I get a lot of, one of the most common comments that I get is people asking for shorter videos. And, rather than do that myself, I like to promote other people who already do that sort of thing. There's a lot of great content creators out there already. So, go check out those people. And then I'm just going to do what I like. And that's going to be for some people and not for everybody.
Yeah. I like the approach. I like the approach very much. It's even here on Twitch, I kind of do the same thing. There are more energetic streamers, let's say. I like the slow approach. I like to think about things. I like to not only refer to the game, even when I just, watch videos on YouTube. I take my time. I don't care about rushing, So I like that very much.
Yeah. One of the comments that I got that was kind of funny, someone said, after watching my videos, then they start to think more logically in other scenarios, like other games or just like in their daily life. And I was like, oh no, now you're cursed. Now, now you think like a mathematician all the time.
Yeah, it's actually a deep topic, because I feel like it can be an advantage in life when you have to treat problems. But sometimes it's also nice to be light in thinking. And personally, I'm not always able to do that. I have to focus to not focus in some way.
Sure, yeah. Sometimes I can't help it. Sometimes, like when I was in grad school and I was trying to save money, I would go to the store and I would think about, how many calories can I get per dollar? Is this, item compared to another one, is it going to give me more, not necessarily nutrition, just like calories per dollar, those kind of like optimizations.
Optimizing life. Yeah. I get it. I get it. But now that skill is making you, I would argue, at least one of the best players out there, right? That's my opinion. I would say the best, but at least one of the best. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'll accept that. I'll accept one of the best. Definitely one of the most prolific players. So I just play a lot, and so that gives me an advantage as well.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. So I'll just read some of them to you, and then it's very free. So if you have something to add or whatever, it's a chat. It's not an interview.
Yeah.
So tell us something about you. We know that you have a PhD in sort of statistics, but it's not really that. It's something that has to do with matrices or something. So what about that?
Yeah. So I have a PhD in mathematics. That's like kind of broadly, and then my research area is in random matrix theory, which is like some probability stuff. Like you said, it has matrices involved. It has some applications, statistical applications, though I don't normally do a lot of statistics myself. Like that wasn't my specialty, I guess. More the pure math, the algebraic stuff, I would say.
Yeah, I'm checking Wikipedia. This sounds very complicated. I mean, a lot of symbols. But
potentially, yeah. That's one of the weird things about any kind of like PhD, I guess, or even if you're just getting a master's in mathematics, you get like really deep into one thing that not a lot of people have thought about, not a lot of people care about, and you get to be the one expert in the world at that thing. And it's not necessarily that thing is very important to the world, but you are the expert basically about this really obscure thing, this random matrix theory thing.
And would you say that this is one of those cases? Like, is random matrix a very narrow topic?
I think it has a lot of applications, but maybe not everyone is thinking of it in the same way. So like maybe not everyone is aware of all the places that it can be applied, possibly. And even like more narrowly than that, when you're pursuing a PhD, one of the requirements is you have to do something new, right? You have to publish new mathematics that no one else has done before. And often what that means is you just pick a problem that no one else has thought about. So like even within this rather large umbrella of random matrix theory, we can like narrow it down to just one problem that I'm working on, that I was able to work on.
I see. And so you are still going, like you are in your PhD, or have you have completed that?
Yeah, so I completed my degree, I want to say 2 years ago, about maybe. Okay. So I'm completely done with that. And I was teaching for a while, but I'm not teaching anymore. And so there's a little bit more story there if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, so sort of when I was younger in high school, oftentimes, I'd be really good at the math classes, and then I would try to help my friends out, tutoring one-on-one. And that was a really enjoyable experience for me, being able to help someone else out and, doing a little bit of that teaching. And so I thought for a long time that I wanted to be a teacher as well, and you wanted to pursue the math PhD so that I could, teach at a university maybe one day.
Yeah.
And so it took me a little while to get there. There were like a lot of steps in between. I ended up getting a master's in mathematics first because, sort of in my first attempt to apply to grad schools, I didn't get accepted. And so I had to do something else for a little while. And then, after I eventually got my degree, then what most people do after you get a fresh PhD is you get some kind of temporary teaching position. So like 1 or 2 years teaching position that you have to like move to another state or, sometimes another country to do. And you're just bouncing around every couple of years. You apply to a new one until finally you can land some kind of permanent teaching position. And so the short version is I got a little burnt out on that, jumping around and like looking for a permanent home, looking for a permanent job. And so decided to stop teaching. And now sort of my main thing is the YouTube channel.
Oh, I see. So, I mean, you're still teaching, just Balatro, but I
Yeah,
can.
technically,
Some of the teaching expertise, let's say, it's still very notable in your way of explaining things, thinking about stuff. Um, so I feel like the success of your channel is connected to your ability to actually teach.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely, even though none of the math that I learned is applicable to the game, it's just regular kind of statistics and probability stuff. There is kind of a way of thinking that you develop and then can apply, sort of broadly. And then also, like you said, sort of I have roots in teaching. I have experience in teaching, and that's kind of the personality that I've cultivated over all this time. And so that's kind of my approach to my videos as well. Think about, how other people learn a game, how other people pick up the game, and try to explain what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily there's no random metrics in Balatro, otherwise nobody would be able to play it. But one thing that feel it's fascinating, and I experience almost on a daily basis with, let's say, not scientific people, is actually the perception of logic, of strict logic, math, and probabilities, right? So, for instance, a good meme is the wheel of nope, right? Because it looks like it never works, but I mean, 1 in 4 is not a lot. Like mathematically, is not a lot. So. But our brains are so bad at percepting and thinking probability. Do you find that to be true?
I think something that's really cool about the game, something that I really like about the game, is how accessible it is to people and how you can be successful without really having to calculate that much, without being that good at, guessing the probabilities and stuff like that. But one thing that is a little bit disappointing about sort of like the public reception is, things like this, these higher variance mechanics like the Wheel of Fortune, like the lucky cards, things that I personally like a lot, and I, understand how to overcome that variance by just sort of repeated application. If you just use the wheel more times, then by the law of large numbers, it kind of averages out. You'll get the payout eventually. You'll get the payout enough times, the expected number of times. But like you said, people are just generally really bad at recognizing good and bad luck and that sort of thing, and then kind of get upset about it, and are inclined to disengage from the game.
Or maybe since it's a game, it can be educational in this regard, right? You have an application, because in real life, actual very firm probabilities are not. Maybe just in gambling, but then there is the whole psychology of it. So maybe in the game, it can be educational. You can actually learn what it feels like to experience 1 out of 4 or something. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Because when we teach probability, we tell students about coin flipping and pulling colored balls out of an urn, and that's kind of amorphous, and no one really does that, right? Yeah. Whereas like here with the, like you said, with the wheel, people can really actually experience what it feels like, and then get a better intuition for these types of probability things.
And so I have one last question about you. Where are you from? Maybe I should have started with that, but where are you from?
I'm currently in Texas in the U.S. And then previously I'm originally from California.
I see. Okay, now the time zone makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have, my hours are very flexible now. So like I said, since this is my main thing, I'm kind of recording at weird hours, and I've always kind of done that. I found that I've most productive when it's nighttime for everybody else in my life, because then there's no distractions. I'm not distracted to socialize, and so I can really focus and just grind out 6 to 10 hours of work.
Yeah. again, the whole being up at night, I feel like it's very common among PhDs and all of that. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
maybe because we feel like we are putting in the extra work because everybody's sleeping and we are instead producing something. I don't know, but it's common. It's common.
Yeah, so what I would do in college, I would live in the dorms, and so I would have my friends, come, and then we'd all be living together in the, whatever, the residence hall, and I would go to breakfast with everyone, and then after breakfast, they would go to class, and then I would go to sleep. I would sleep through the day, sleep through all my classes, and then they'd come back in the evening. We'd have dinner together. We'd hang out a little bit. Sometimes in the evening, I would teach like a late night calculus class, like refresher tutoring session, and then at, I don't know, by 1 or 2 a.m. when everyone else is done and gone to sleep, that's when I would start my day, kind of. And sometimes getting caught up on work, homework, or just playing games at that time.
Yeah. It's somebody in chat is even saying, "Hey, he's talking about me." So maybe it's the people of the internet rather than just the PhDs. It's the people of the internet. Yeah. Okay. So first question is a must. When did you start to play the game? Because I know I've started playing it when it came out, like I think most of players now, but I didn't really dig into the history. I know there was like a demo time and you played that, but I don't know much about the history of the game.
Yeah, so last summer, so about a year ago now, there was a summer playtest. It was a closed playtest, and so you would send an email, and then you would get a code that you could use.
Okay.
And I learned about the game. I was watching someone on YouTube play the game, Gothic Lord UK, and okay, well, this game seems kind of fun, but it's a closed playtest here, so I can't really play it myself. And so I kind of would watch his videos and set it aside. And then in September of last year, then we had the first like publicly available demo version, and then okay, now's my chance. Now I can jump in and I can play. Because it's kind of frustrating sometimes if you're watching someone play and they do kind of like obvious misplays, and it's like, I wish I could just it could be me, and then I could just do the correct thing instead. No disrespect to the person who's just playing and having a good time. It's just like, oh well, I could be doing greater things perhaps.
My chat knows about that, right, chat?
Yeah,
and they sure mention that, but yeah.
Yeah, I joke with my viewers. I say like, oh, okay, well, if you watch me, then you don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about the misplays. You don't have to worry about getting mad.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably, I would say probably true. There you go. So we are again in the probability.
Yeah, it's not 100% success rate. There's still misplays here and there. There's still stuff that I learned from my commenters, and I think that's really fun. Anyway, it was in September when we had the first demo, and so okay, I jumped on this opportunity to play the game, and I don't know, I found the game to be really interesting, really compelling, and so I did something that I never have done before, which is like join the Discord chat for the development of the game, and like people playing the demo and chatting about it, and they're then sharing like, if you have a good run and you want to share like a high score or something like that. I have like a really competitive nature, kind of, and so if someone says something is hard, if someone says something that can't be done, then I want to do it. I want to like put 20 hours into making that happen. And so then wanting to share those things with more people, then creating like YouTube videos about like, okay, well, here's like a high score that I did, or here's like a weird challenge that people thought was impossible, and then we did it. And at the time, the game was small, so there's not a lot of players, there's not a lot of viewers. I was just kind of doing it to share the game with my friends, basically. Not my existing friends, but like these new friends in this new Discord community that I was coming into.
The new community makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I played for, I think 800 hours in 4 months.
Ooh. Okay, so you did enjoy the game, let's say. But
Yeah. I got a lot out of it.
It's precious. I mean, it's precious work, right? Because especially in the demo phase, having a player like you means, I feel, somebody. I mean, you're gonna crush the game. You're gonna try to get everything out of it, right? So that's good for the developer, I guess.
Yeah. So, different people play different styles and, gonna explore different parts of the game. And so, I tried my best to explore every part of the game. Every Joker, every interaction, whatever limited amount was available to us, sort of explore the limits of, in the demo version, you only had 5 antes, and so only 15 rounds. Like, how much can we accomplish in 15 rounds with the limited Joker pool that we have and the limited tools that we have? And so I, was, like I said, really active in the Discord community, and so, like, giving a lot of feedback on things. There would be a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, strategy discussion, and it's like, oh, you guys are misunderstanding, you're just doing it wrong, let me explain, these long essays that I would dump out. But the developer
writing
local
papers
was,
on the Discord channel.
Yeah. And then, within a day, there's enough messages that it like disappears, this essay that you wrote yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But the developer local thunk was really active and really receptive in the Discord chat, and so like discussing with us, our thoughts on the balance of the game and thoughts on like what new content could be for the game. And so in the January season, I was actually a playtester on the game, and so like if you go to the credits, I have my name in the credits. So like we took these like daily Discord discussions with the developer, and then turned this into some like behind the scenes stuff where now, okay, I'm testing stuff that no one else has seen, and checking it to make sure that nothing's broken, or if there is, I'm going to be the one to find it. I'm going to be the one to break it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's such a fitting story, I mean, your expertise and your which is a passion. When you go down the academic road, the expertise must be a passion, I feel. It works so well with this type of game, and it's great that you firstly was involved with the developer in helping finding stuff and whatever, and now that you can make possibly a career out of it as a YouTuber. So it's a great story, I feel.
Yeah, I'm just super fortunate that all this stuff came together at the time that it did. If it had, like I said, I had stopped teaching already, and so if this had gone on like another month or whatever, I don't know where I would be. Like, if I didn't get my success until a month from now, I would be out. I would be homeless basically.
Yeah. And I mean, I will have a question about your future as a content creator, but I wanted to ask you something, because you said at the start you were watching videos and then you started to play. I had this, I mean, for me, the time between watching a video and starting to play the game was like, I feel 1 hour. So I've seen a video and then I was like, okay, let's buy the game. Whatever.
Okay, this game looks fun. Yeah.
And especially since I'm a streamer, I have this like excuse in my, like, okay, I'm spending money, but whatever, because I do it in stream, so I make money out of it, so it's okay. And then I've actually contacted the not the developer, but like the publisher or whatever, and they even gave me a key. So my point was, do you feel that watching the game is fun, but then playing it's so much better? Like, in some way, I feel like just watching it doesn't really convey the emotions and the sensations of being able to drive your own run, to maybe gamble a little bit. Because I think there are gambling aspects in the game that give you satisfaction when you hit the maybe not for a player like you, that you are very controlled, but sometimes I just keep the negative joker, right? Because maybe it's something great. I know it's bad, but who cares?
Yeah, there's definitely, even so my experience was I would watch someone play and then I would want to, do better, right? And for me, people watch me because I play at a high level, but it's different. Like you said, it's different if you're in the driver's seat. And so, for a viewer now, even if their run is not going to be as high powered, as highly calculated as mine, it's still way more thrilling, way more interesting to be, kind of like you said, in the driver's seat, right? Even if you're not as successful, it's still more fun, engaging to be in control. And so, it kind of like surprises me. It surprises me that people are going to take their time to watch me play, watch my videos when like they could be playing themselves. But I think it does make sense for people who, they're going to watch me at times when they can't play, at times when they're like winding down and getting ready for bed. And so like that's how I consume content on YouTube. I watch people play Magic the Gathering as like a way to wind down before bed and like fall asleep to them playing and talking in the background.
Yeah. I do that, but it's your content is both entertaining in general, but it's also very educational for the game. But I think I like to see you play because I can then try to implement some of your reasonings, or maybe I don't know. I have even some mottos, right? I don't know. Always trust banana, believe in banana, or whatever that is. So I feel like overall you give some very good guidance, even without the maybe depth of maybe I don't do all the calculation that you do, but at the end you can grasp some common rules that you can apply in your runs.
Yeah, so that, what I try to do is I try to take on interesting challenges for myself. And so, there are some aspects where maybe, I'll have a joker that has a certain synergy and I'll try the best to avoid that synergy, just to like this self-imposed challenge on myself. And so like I have kind of this antagonistic relationship or like this cheeky relationship with my viewers where I will say I'm doing one kind of challenge, but secretly I have a harder challenge in mind that I'm doing that I'm not telling anybody until the end. And then so, taking on these extra challenges, but then still demonstrating how to be successful despite this extra handicap. And so then having to play, very carefully, very logically to make that work, to beat this extra challenge. And so I try to think about, telling other people stuff that, not just applies to the challenge that I'm doing, but stuff that they can apply in any run, things like the value of discards, the value of planet cards and tarot cards and that sort of stuff.
And also, regarding this aspect of your content, do you think that I feel like some people will watch your games and say, "Oh, it was just lucky," because there is like this saying. I don't remember it exactly, but it's like if you have advanced technology that is advanced enough, it's just like magic. Right? Maybe your brain, what you're doing is advanced enough for some people that the most humane reaction is just, okay, he was just lucky, right? He cannot control that. But actually, like if you are doing it most of the time.
If you're not comprehending all of the strategy, if you're not, some of these like really tiny decisions, like at the beginning, whether to take the World Tarot card to change some suits or whether to take the Hangman or stuff like that, you don't feel the effects instantaneously. Sometimes you don't feel the effects at all. It's only in aggregate. All of these decisions added up by the end, you could see the result. And so if you're not understanding all of the decisions and all of the future implications, then it, like you said, it just comes off as magic. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's just luck then. He drew the right cards. It had nothing to do with him manipulating the deck to make those draws happen.
I feel like that's the part where I think I'm good enough to watch for synergies and understanding maybe the economy. That's I feel like I'm okay. But your ability to draw the hand and to think, okay, maybe I can do these and then pivot, maybe even in the same round, right? So I can do 2 of these and then that. That's very, it's brain consuming to me. So sometimes I just go, okay, let's try with the flash and then lose.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's still a game. I mean, it's still a game.
Yeah.
So.
So I said before, something that I really like about the game is how accessible it is. Even more accessible to folks who have never played any kind of roguelike game or deck building game before. And so I'm really excited about the balance changes to make the white stake, the lower stakes, even easier than it currently is. I have people commenting that they play the game for 15, 20 hours and they haven't gotten a win yet. And, we know objectively it is winnable. It's winnable 100% of the time. And there's just some skill differential there. But I would still like the game to be easier. I would still like the game to be more accessible for those people.
Yeah, the changes, you're referring to the NT3 and 4, right?
Yeah, this is a change that I've been talking about for months. I've been asking for.
Yeah, because there is a weird gap, right? And maybe you don't even, not you, but a general player doesn't pay attention to the numbers, and so he just finds himself or herself like, oh, geez, now this number is big. How did we end up here? I wasn't prepared for that, right?
Yeah, or often what will happen is people will lose their run in like ante 5 or ante 6. Like that's when they would actually lose. And they'll say something like, oh, the reason why I lost is I didn't draw a second flush. And so like this question is, well, why did you need a second flush? Like what is missing in your build that you weren't able to win with just one flush? And part of what that comes from is in ante 3, the jump to 2800 is 3 times or more than 3 times what it is in ante 2. And so it's really hard to get over that hill, and if you barely clear that hill, then it kind of destabilizes you for the rest of your run, right? It's costing you extra resources, it's costing you extra hands, you're losing money to just struggle and then survive. And you don't lose the run in ante 6 until ante 6, but you've already lost earlier in the run. You just didn't realize that you lost. You were already set on this losing path, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like this aspect of the game is quite it's not so easy to grasp. Like there are games in which snowballing is more clear, right? I don't know, maybe League of Legends, let's take that. It's a completely different game, but it's pretty clear that the more you have money, the more you generate money, right? And then you buy items which make you kill enemies that make you money and all of that. But in Balatro, there is like this weird, you have different challenges. And so you think, okay, if I'm beating this round barely, then I can just keep scaling a little bit and I will keep beating every round a little bit. And that's okay. Well, no, because the scores are not growing linearly, right? And you can see that very clearly on ante 11, 12. Like at some point, you just end up with what? And you instantly lose. Like there is no way you can recover. I mean, you can see that the scaling is just too big, right? But that's, not so easy to grasp, maybe.
No, I think League of Legends or, similar games, that's a really good comparison, because in League of Legends, when you're winning, right? Your score is up, your stats are higher than your opponents, you have more money than your opponents. It's like clear. You're winning until maybe at some point you're losing. In Balatro, it feels like you're winning until suddenly you lose, right? Because every time you pass each round, every time you clear whatever kind of score threshold, it's like, oh, okay, I'm surviving, I'm winning, right? Whereas actually what determines whether you're winning or losing, or whether you're on like a winning or losing path, is as the scaling is going up, as all of the numbers are going up, is your build scaling at the same rate? Because if you're scaling at a lower rate, eventually it's going to overtake you. Eventually it's going to catch up to you. Yeah. So, you start out the first Joker that you get, multiplies your score by times 6. So you go from scoring 300 points a hand to 1800 points a hand. And like that feels huge, that difference, that times 6 from just one joker. And then the second joker that you pick up is then only giving you another maybe times 2.5 on top of what you already have. And so, as you're picking up new things, your growth rate is slower in theory. And then so that's when you actually start losing, if you're not picking up enough value from each round to keep up with the increased scaling.
Yeah, maybe a thing that is difficult is evaluating your situation. It may seem, you can even use a calculator, and crush all the numbers, but evaluating scaling, it's you can do it mathematically, of course, but just like getting the sense of it, because at the end I don't want to play with a calculator, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. Maybe it takes also practice, right? So you have been there before, so you say, no, I know this is not gonna be enough, I feel it in the numbers.
Or, if I think that it's not enough, can I play in a way that's safe where it doesn't matter whether it's enough? And so, like me, I don't want to play with a calculator either. And so sometimes I'm like very, very quick, very lazy with the calculations, because I'm, kind of demonstrating for other people. That's, I think, how you should play. I think that's way more fun and engaging to have a little bit this unknown. And so, there's this debate that comes up, a lot of people are asking for there should be a better score preview. It should just tell you exactly how many points each hand is going to be worth. Yeah. For some people who enjoy like a certain part of the strategy, like that makes the game more interesting, more strategic, more fun. And I think that's super valid, but that's not the majority of the community. The majority of the community is, struggling to beat white stake like at all, and are having a good time regardless, having a good time losing, because they like, having that uncertainty and being like pleasantly surprised. Oh, we did it. We survived. That's great.
Yeah, I've used there is a good website. There is the Balatro calculator that has all the jokers, and you can like preview the scoring. Sometimes I've used it, but I've used it to understand multiplications. Because I mean, when steel cards are in and red triggers are in and red seals are in, I'm like, okay, so what's the order in which this is gonna happen? And so I just try to randomly swap jokers to see what's the best one, because it's maybe that's the ceiling of my brain. I cannot. Like, okay, maybe this is better, but then the multiplication is just added after, so it's actually useless. And so it can be used as a learning tool, because once you see it and you realize it and you say, oh, okay, yeah, it's clear, this 60 multi is just added after. It's not doing anything for me. And then the next run, you know it. And it could be something to learn from. So maybe something toggable, I don't know, something that you can turn on and off.
Sure, yeah. One kind of design challenge with like the tutorial for the game is you want it to be complete enough, you want it to be thorough enough, but if it's too comprehensive, if it's too long tutorial, then it takes away from some of the utility as well. It's less effective if it's too long. And so one of the things that doesn't get tutorialized at all is the order of operations. And so, different jokers function at different times, like these held in hand abilities, why do they occur before my jokers do? Like I have no intuition for that. You just learn from experience. And, that experience could come after already 3 or 4 hours of play because, you didn't find a steel card. You didn't interact with those elements at all yet. And so there's all of these unknown interactions. And so definitely, like you said, it's sort of a learning tool using the calculator to, have it run the numbers for you and then see, which different organization is better. Could work. I guess, one hesitation there is if you have it as a toggle, like you have this as an option that's default off and then people can turn it on if they want, then people will not turn it off. They'll turn it on at the beginning and then that then prevents them from learning. because then they're relying too much on the calculator. They don't have to think about it anymore.
It's I think you're very right. So maybe just using web tools in a safe environment, it's enough. So basically, like it is now.
I think also the game is maybe easy enough that a lot of the time it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get the order wrong. Like you have some jokers, and then you have some steel cards, and then it's not fully optimized. But then maybe you realize, or maybe you don't realize for a couple hours or whatever. But most of the time it doesn't matter until we're talking about like the much higher levels of play.
Sure. Yeah. I think you touched on a topic that I've briefly touched as well when we were reading the patch notes. There are some things that are completely hidden, and there is actually no way of knowing unless you go and study. Like, for instance, why is the castle looking at your deck and the Encher Joker is not? Well, there is no way of knowing that. And so I don't know if this information should maybe in the collection, if you over a Joker, you can have more detailed information about how it draws its information or whatever. But I feel like that's just not right. How am I supposed to know?
Because most of the time that's not relevant. Like, you don't actually need to know that information.
Yeah.
And so if you have it as this tooltip that's available all of the time, then sort of people are inundated with too much information, more information than they need to just be successful and play the game. I know these things because I'm active in the Balatro Discord, and we discuss the code itself, and we talk about how things are implemented so that we can do kind of optimizations, seeded runs and stuff like that, and discuss balance changes and stuff like that. So if people want that level of play, they definitely can. They can find it in the Balatro Discord, but I think most of the time that information is just not necessary.
Yeah, not for sure, not in the tooltips during the game. Like, you cannot have a castle that says, "Oh, and by the way, if the deck is no, that's too much. It's distracting." But maybe the Discord is a good resource to find all of this stuff. It's really about implementation. So, I mean, most of the things are actually we have already talked about. So maybe let's talk about you as a content creator, because that's new.
It's new, yeah.
I suspect that you didn't have the goal of becoming a YouTuber per se, but now you are, and you are, I feel, very loved in the community, and your content is appreciated. So how are you taking it? What's your plan? Do you have a plan?
Yeah, so maybe originally my plan was to start making games, try to get a job making games, after working behind the scenes with the playtesting for the Balatro game, and, helping to brainstorm and design some of the like new Joker effects and, new rebalances and stuff like that. Okay, well, I would like to do this professionally, maybe, and, applying to do those sorts of things. But then, when the game launched and sort of the game being as popular as it is, and then all of a sudden my videos being as popular as they are, then maybe now I don't need to do that. Maybe I don't need to be making games. And so this kind of question of, okay, is this the thing that I want to be doing instead? Like, is this not just going to be sort of lucrative enough? Is this going to pay the bills? But also, is this going to be fulfilling? And, something that was really tough about teaching was I felt a large amount of responsibility to my students. And so like you have an hour lecture, you go in there, you have to have like a solid game plan. And a lot of the time I would feel like I was letting my students down. I would feel like the lecture wasn't good enough. I would feel like the assignments weren't good enough. And so, like an assignment, you have the opportunity to evaluate your students, just test their understanding of stuff, or you can also kind of build it in a way that kind of leads them on a journey of discovery if you kind of organize it in the right way. And so, I would put a lot of pressure on myself to do that for my students, and it was kind of soul crushing. I always felt like I was doing a bad job. Whereas with the YouTube videos, it's way different. I'm just kind of doing my thing, and if people like it, then they watch it. If people don't like it, then it doesn't really bother me as much. And so I do talk a lot, and I do try to explain my moves, and I do try to teach people who are receptive, but I'm not trying too hard to teach anything specific. So as I'm playing, I'll talk about the things that come up, but I'm not trying to come up with like a lesson plan anymore. I'm not trying to, teach anyone specific, anything specific.
Also,
so that's been really liberating for me, and I think, really healthy for me, and I'd like to keep doing that.
Yeah, also the context is much less, I would say, dangerous and important, right? I mean, it's still just a game, so compared to I feel that responsibility as well. I've worked a lot on I don't know, the materials, and I try to make the lesson entertaining, but also of course to teach the stuff I have to teach and whatever. So I get what you mean, and as a content creator, I feel like you're not, at least for me, I'm not completely removed from this position. I still try to make something that is good for the people that are watching me. Good, not only for entertainment, but like for educational purposes. But of course, the pressure is far less.
Yeah. Like you said, the context is different. The pressure is different.
So you're still thinking if becoming, because maybe you can do both. You could be you could test games and be a content creator.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. We'll see. We'll see. What direction things go. I'm definitely interested in trying out streaming a little bit. A lot of people have asked to see me play live, and we had the Balatro Invitational tournament that I participated in, and we had a lot of people tune into that, and I'm interested in doing more of that, or at least giving it a try, and then just seeing where it goes from there.
Congratulations, by the way, for the result.
Thanks. Yeah. It was close. It was really tough. I tried to, I think maybe people don't realize how close it was. And so I tried to convince people, try to explain people how close it was, but I'm not sure if that got across. I'm not sure if everyone understands that, but for me, it felt really close.
Well, the first one, I don't know the others' results, but the finalist was pretty good.
Zeno.
Yeah, I feel like it's not that easy to pull out exponential big numbers runs. You did it all of the 3 times, but he also did it. So maybe it's more controllable and more. I mean, the runs were seeded, so I guess that the judges or whatever organized the thing were expecting it to be possible. It's not just a random seed. But
sort of. They were, seeded technically, but somewhat random. And so the seed generation was boom, followed by a random 3-digit number that they determined. And so it was, not necessarily any specific high-powered seed, but still kind of random feeling.
Okay. It was curated, let's say, but not so much. Just to be sure to not give a very bad seed or a boring seed, I guess, for the competition.
Yeah, they wanted they wanted it to be seeded so that it would be consistent. Everyone would be playing under the same circumstances, competing against
Makes
each other.
sense.
Yeah.
And do you think there is room for? I wouldn't call it esports of Balatro because it's still, I feel, too much RNG based. But maybe, I mean, they've done it for Fortnite, so it is. I mean, it's not gonna be super strict esports such as League of Legends. But do you think there is room for competitions, 1v1, whatever? Do you think that's something that we could see come up in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a competition just today, just a couple hours ago. I think, just like a straight high score competition for 2 hours. And so there's definitely like that's possible. The question is like, is that going to get stale if the competition is just high score every time? And so something that I'm working on is I want to create another event, another kind of tournament, similar structure to the Balatro Invitational. But each round, the goal changes. And so instead of trying to get the high score every round, maybe one round you're trying to get the most money, or another round you're trying to get the most just plus chips from a combination of planet cards and jokers and that sort of stuff, rather than score strictly. And you could change the format as well, whether we're talking about seeded runs or random seed, that changes the texture of it, whether or not we're allowing re-rolling, because then there's re-rolling strategy that goes into it.
Yeah.
There's like time pressure, whether we're talking about like a 24-hour event, which was the first Balatro Invitational before the game launched, or whether we're talking about, like a 1 hour or maybe even 20-minute time pressure. But I do think there's definitely enough possibilities, definitely enough ideas out there. The question is whether or not there's going to be the audience for it, whether or not the game is big enough that there will be like a competitive scene.
Yeah, because now the game has to go past, I think, one of the most difficult things for games that explode very fast, which is retain some of the community, right? Big games have had years to build up a community, and it's a very like deeply involved community. They've played for years and all of that. Now I feel like Balatro is really a great game, and I don't see it, at least for me, near to the boring limit, let's call it that. After a while a game gets boring, it's okay, and I see that far away because of how it's done, and now it's always feels fresh. But that's just me and you, and then I don't know about other people, the average player, like not the super try to optimize anything players. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's still content creators that are still making Slay the Spire videos, however many years later, still streaming Slay the Spire, not every day, but, most days. And so I could definitely see for those types of people, for me, probably, Balatro being that type of game, and maybe people interested in, continuing to watch that if people are continuing to stream that. But, I don't know how much the players are going to continue to want to play themselves or just like watch someone play. Like definitely now we talked before about sort of being in the driver's seat and like playing your own runs and playing your own seeds is very exciting. I'm not sure, how much longevity that will have. I'm hoping that it's a lot. I'm hoping that the player base, gets a lot of hours out of the game individually. But some things that might help with that are, just new content. Like Slay the Spire added a lot of new content since it was originally dropped. And I think the developer, Local Thunk, is really interested in just, working on Balatro forever. Like that's his passion project. Like Concerned Ape for Stardew Valley. Where sort of, maybe every year or so, or maybe every 6 months or so, a big content drop, new jokers, new mechanics, possibly, maybe even higher stakes, more challenges and stuff like that.
Daily stuff.
I think, So I definitely think we have the right person in the lead. We have the right developer that could make the game have the longevity that we want.
Yeah, I don't know the developer myself, but just by the dimension of this patch notes. Like this is a 0.1 change, and it's longer than any log change I've ever seen for a like most of the times.
Yeah. That's ambitious, right?
Yeah, most of the times it's just like, okay, we fixed a bug. Keep playing. With games, when you have like this little, just a tiny number changing. Feels like a version, I don't know, almost 2 already, because the whole gold and orange stake changes are pretty relevant, and I would say half of the jokers have been adjusted. So I like very much his approach. I've seen some of his Reddit posts in the Ask Me Anything, and I like the mentality a lot.
Local Thunk is just really receptive, and so in the Balatro Discord, every suggestion, people can put suggestions, and every suggestion he reads it, and he doesn't implement all of them, and sometimes the suggestions are bad suggestions, but he still reads all of them, takes that into consideration. All of the content creators, not just myself, but people like Forbes and Mouth and yourself, maybe even, I don't know, Northern Lion especially, but all these content creators, they have thoughts, they have opinions about the game, and so Local Thunk is absorbing all of that and implementing it, or making the changes here to things like the gold stake, orange stake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that's great. I mean, the having a passionate person on top, it's very important, and also leveraging the community. Especially via the creators that they self are leveraging the community, like they get the stuff from their own communities, and then they can communicate with him. So that's great.
Definitely. In the demo season, the first demo season, so the September through December demo season, there was a lot of brainstorming in the sort of open public, Balatro Discord for different Joker ideas. And the demo was originally planned to just be 1 month in September, and then ended up lasting through December, lasting 4 months, 4 times as much time, because there was so much activity, because there was so much back and forth. And then, we had all this time to just keep brainstorming and adding new stuff, and we had that much access to the developer.
Yeah, but it was worth it, right? I feel like the game was so well polished, and this is very the common path of games is, okay, I give you something half baked, you pay in full for that, and then maybe we finish the game. But this was the opposite. The game was even the demo would have been a complete game, I think. So that's great to see.
The first demo, like I said, I played for 800 hours. Like, for me, that's a complete game. That's more than I've gotten out of any other game.
Yeah. Okay, so my questions are, I'd say, over. We can maybe talk about your general. I've seen half of the video of your new update commentary, but do you like the direction that has been taken for this new patch?
Yeah, definitely. Some things that stand out are, just balance changes to different Jokers. These are things that I've talked about in the past. Some things like the Vagabond and the Vampire being too strong. Okay, we'll change those. Some rarity changes for Jokers that are, maybe some of the rares were not rare enough. They're not powerful enough. We'll move them to uncommon. So like all of those things sort of just make sense to me. The two big changes that I'm really most excited about, making the game easier at the lower levels so that the game is more accessible. And so, changing the ante numbers a little bit, changing the first shop to have the buffoon pack in it. People were feeling, perhaps incorrectly, but this is what the feeling was. The feeling was that the game was too much reliant on luck. And so people were like, okay, well, if it's just a luck-based game, instead of trying to, just play runs back to back and try to, win streak or whatever it is, I'm just going to keep restarting until I get the good starting conditions. Because that way I don't have to rely on luck. I'll just start with the good stuff. And so, with the change, adding the buffoon pack, we want to sort of, cut back on that. We want people to feel that any run is winnable, which was already true. It's just we want to get people there. We want to get people to feel that way as well.
Yeah. My approach is I reroll a lot just to find the first sticker when I'm playing stakes, higher stakes. I just want the all free shop sticker, and then I go.
The coupon,
yeah. But now, speaking of stickers, do you think, I've seen your commentary on that, but you still think that they are not good enough in general? Like, maybe I feel like now at the start they're pretty broken, like especially because you can just restart, right? You get a rare tag. You see what the rare is something you want to play around with. Sure, you keep going. Otherwise, you just restart.
Yeah.
So what's your take on skipping? It seems like the developer wanted to make skipping more interesting, more valuable for players. But I don't know. What's your take?
My thoughts in the past were, some skips were worthwhile in the first round skip, for example, the foil or the holographic, getting the sort of guaranteed scoring early from that first skip, or like you said, the coupon, very, very powerful, getting free stuff or discounted stuff. And then after that, once you get later into the run, then you can't afford skipping for kind of two reasons. So one reason you can't afford to skip is it makes the scoring requirements higher. And so when you skip, all of your build stays the same. Your jokers stay the same, your deck stays the same, but now all of a sudden you have to beat this higher scoring requirement. Sometimes you skip and you get money, but you can't spend it right away until you beat the next round. You get some offer, some promise of something that's going to be in the next shop. Like you have a guaranteed negative in the next shop. Well, you still have to beat the current round first when you skip ahead.
So if you lose, you don't get that.
Yeah, and so sometimes, there's a skip and it's $50, but I can't take the skip because I'm not convinced I can beat the next round. And then sort of the second reason why you have a hard time skipping is you just miss so much value from when you play around. You get all of the whatever kind of money from that round, from leftover hands and interest and stuff like that. But the real power of not skipping is you get to see the shop, and the shop is going to give you more jokers that you get to see. You don't buy them, but you want to see them. You want to see more shops. You're not going to buy every booster pack, but you want to see more booster packs so that you can more easily find the ones that you do want. And so, for those reasons, okay, later on, we're not able to skip unless you have more value that's guaranteed to you. And so, adding the, discounts to some of the skips here, so like the negative polychrome, holographic tag, rare tag, uncommon tag, all of those being discounted now free, that adds a little bit to the value. You get a little bit extra money there. If you get a uncommon joker or a rare joker that you don't want, you could still buy it for $0 and then sell it for a couple dollars, right?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you are. It's taking a risk, right? So maybe it's also okay to have some risk involved. I just want to see what it is. Let's go. Maybe, if you can afford it, I think of skips. Okay, so skips after ante 4 or something. It's just you're trolling most of the time.
Yeah.
But now, so the investment, it's quite broken, I think, on ante 1, even 2. $25
now
is just
25
free interest. The whole situation of having to choose and then keep some money because I wanna get up with the money account and have the interest. It's just immediately solved for me, right? So maybe investment. I don't know if investment can spawn on ante 1. I think it can.
It can, yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. One can just like reroll indefinitely until you get it, and then
You can, yeah.
it's like a
So you still have the trouble of you still need to survive the next round. And so if you take let's say you're playing on the high stakes, let's say you're playing on gold stake, and you take the investment skip, then you need to win the second round 450 points with 2 hands. And on the high stakes, you have 1 less discard. So just 3 hands and 2 discards. You might not get 2 hands, and you might not survive. So, maybe there's like I want to say 15% chance that you lose from taking that skip. And so if you're just playing sort of casually and you don't care about your win rate and you just kind of want to have a powerful start so that you can have a fun run, then of course you're going to take the skip and you'll find a way to survive because you can re-roll if you don't survive. But if you're going for, win streaking or win rate, then maybe you can't afford to take that skip because maybe you can't afford the chance of losing in the second round.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost to that, so it can happen. Sometimes you don't even get a flash with 2 discards. So, but I feel like it's so if you compare it with the yellow deck, which gives you $10. I don't know. It feels like a bit too much to me. Maybe it should be like scaling a bit with the ante number. Maybe, I don't know.
That's a change that we discussed actually. Having the number change. It ended up being too annoying, and so you kind of have to pick. What is the correct scaling rate? What is the correct thing that it's going to scale based off? So like it could just grow with ante number. It could grow with the round number. It could grow with number of hands played, like the handy tag. There's all these different things that we can use for scaling, and the implementation, it just ended up being too annoying. The skip tags, the rules text on it is very simple, and we want to keep it simple for people. Keep it understandable for people.
And very immediate, right? So like, okay, do I skip or not? Yeah, I don't skip. Let's go. Something like that.
Or if it gives me a number, if it says it's going to give me $33, I can sort of understand where that number is coming from. And, plan my future runs around that maybe. And so, with the investment tag, you're probably not going to take it in ante 3 or 4 or higher, and that's good. That's fine. We don't want you to be skipping that much later on, or maybe that much at all. Maybe only 1 or 2 skips still per run. It's definitely, I think, not very balanced for ante 1. I think ante 1, maybe 20 is better than 15. And then 25 is fine for ante 2. Ante 3, maybe 25 is also okay. I don't think it needs to be 30. And then after that, I don't think you need to be skipping anyway. And maybe we should have incentives for you not to skip.
Yeah, so what's the... So skipping is intended as a mechanic for something that happens early in the game, and you are happy with that? Like, it feels like a mechanic that it's not super clear. I don't know. It feels like it's there, but you use it just in one portion of the game. I'm still not completely convinced on skips. I don't know. There's something that bugs me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the things that are available, you can get like guaranteed additions, you can get guaranteed uncommons or rares and stuff like that. So mostly the things that the skips are offering is a way to start your run. And so like orbital tag, for example, if you don't have any leveled up planets anymore, if you don't really care what hand you're playing, an early orbital tag will set you in a direction. You can pick it up, you can level up a hand a lot, and then now build around that. You can pick up a foil or holographic joker early, and then because it has higher value, you're more likely to hold on to it for longer, and so build your run around that. Same thing with the rare early. You pick up a rare, and then now not all of the rares are compatible with each other, and so whatever rare I get, I'm going to try to build around that. But then later on, you're sort of locked into whatever your build is in ante 7 or 8, and so I don't want to be taking random skips for random jokers because the chance of it actually being compatible with what I'm doing is very low chance. And I think that's a fine design.
I feel like skipping after anti-4, it's a desperate move. Like, I know I'm not gonna be able to scale. I don't feel like one shop is gonna save me. So just give me something random and hope for the best.
Yeah, so for example, if I'm missing X mult, if that's something that I don't have in my build yet, I could just go through a normal shop and spend money on rerolls and try to find something, or I can take the uncommon tag in anti-6 because the uncommon is going to have a much higher chance of giving me X mult now, and so like that's something that I can count on or bet on at least.
Yeah, maybe. Do you feel like the common, uncommon, and rare, it's good enough, let's say, taxonomy and of jokers? Because some of the changes here, I really like when moving around jokers from rare and uncommon or the other way around. Because I feel like now the rare pool is much more diverse, and you don't have bad rares, right? You just have... So if you take a free rare, then you can really build around it. And you don't want to see like 6 cents as a rare. Was pretty cringe.
You're going to use it for a little bit at most, and then you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah. And so my question is, do you think that maybe... I don't know, maybe a skip that says, I'm going to give you a cheap joker. Well, I guess foil is for that, right? And the multi is the whole.
Yeah. So how about this? Let's do an experiment, thought experiment. Okay, so right now the orbital tag, it tells you what hand it's going to upgrade, and so you can make this sort of informed decision. Do I want to upgrade my straights, or do I want to upgrade my flushes, whatever it says? What if it didn't tell you? What if it was just a random, undetermined, hand, but it's going to be a +5 instead, +5 levels to a random hand? Would you take that skip?
Maybe not. I mean, a random is terrible because if you are already doing something,
regardless of what you're doing something, and I don't know if it's going to be the same thing. Like, what if it's +8 levels instead of +5? Would you take it for just a random?
Well, I mean, depends on the point of where I am in the run. If it's early mid, maybe I can still pivot. If we are at anti-8, I mean, we are done. But maybe I can pivot. Maybe my deck is not completely changed already. So +8 seems more compelling. I don't know.
Yeah, more compelling, like you said. If it's big enough, you can drop everything else that you're doing and just pivot into that one thing. And so that's kind of currently how I feel about the other like joker-based skip tags. So like the addition tags, and then also like the uncommon rare tag, where I don't know what it's going to give me. I don't know if it's going to be compatible with what I'm doing. It doesn't matter that it's free. It doesn't matter that it's a free polychrome. Like if it's not compatible with my build, if it's not synergistic, then I don't want it. And so, what I want to see instead is have a preview, tell me what the joker is going to be, and then I can decide, just like with the orbital tag, I can decide, is that a joker that I want for my build or not? And so I think a problem, we have right now is new players skip too much. And, I think these changes are going to make skipping even more of a trap, right? So now it sounds even more exciting. I'm going to get a free thing, and so I'm going to skip even more than I did before, and then I'm going to get punished even more than I did before.
It is a trap. I like let's call it a trap. It's very gambly and not very thoughtful, right? It's gambly. Let's risk it all. Who cares? Let's go. Well, okay. I think I've asked all of my questions. So now, I mean, there is something you want to add? I've seen some of people from your community. So hello. Sorry for my English. I'm not an English native speaker. I try my best. I
Oh,
can
well,
write it, but I never speak English, so it's rusty.
I think you're doing a great job. I don't speak any Italian.
Well, okay, that's sure. Why would you? I mean, why would you have to
Yeah.
speak Italian?
Well, I don't speak any, other non-English languages, not just Italian or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's kind of hard to follow, all the chat messages going by. Are there any questions from the chat?
There was something before. Now it's pretty calm. I think they are either they fell asleep, which could be the case. It's a bit early, chat. Are you awake? Yeah. Let's see some
Yeah,
reaction.
well, maybe I have a question for you. So,
sure.
of my videos, what was kind of the first one that really made it click for you? That like this was something that you wanted to spend time listening to or watching?
So I think I can give you the series. I mean, the Gold Stake series, it was awesome. So that really, by watching that, I was really, okay, this is my type of content and therefore my type of creator. The first video,
Sure, yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was suggested by YouTube, of course.
Of course.
So you were not the first creator I saw. But then I switched immediately since the titles were so... Oh yeah, maybe it's the titles. Because they are so clear. They say, okay, now in this video we do this. Is gold stake with this deck, with that. And I like organization. So I like having
me
number
too.
stuff. Number stuff is lovely. I know at what point I am in the series. Did I miss an episode? Just by that, you conquered me. It was great. Yeah. So the gold stake series I like.
I've seen a lot of complaints on Reddit. People complaining about, I want all these content creators, I want to stop seeing people keep putting out videos about white stake. They're just playing on easy mode. And it's not interesting enough. Or, what I want to see is like more of the challenges and the gold stakes and like the more difficult stuff. Or, I don't want to see people doing seeded runs anymore because, seeded runs have less skill. It's not as skillful as the random seed. And so, I kind of, I'm out to prove a point. and that is, you're not tired of the white stakes. What you're tired of is, not higher level of play is what you're missing out on. And so like with the seeded runs, there's like so much more stuff that you can do, optimization that you can do that maybe people haven't, put the time into and haven't like thought about. And, with the challenges, I like to put my own spin on it. I like to make it fun for me by making it challenging for me. And then, like I said, still trying to teach people sort of how to be successful under these kind of like adverse circumstances. The gold stake videos were not super fun for me just because like the game is hard. And so I'm enjoying now being able to do the challenge runs are on average much easier. And so I have a little bit more flexibility I can play around.
But so not to fall on the average viewers that says, oh, you were just lucky. But I want to know how many, like some of the gold stakes, I'm sure you had a lot of trials because I feel like the black deck, it's horrible. It's so difficult and
it's so bad.
Yeah. Okay. If you say that it's bad now, I because I've tried and I was like, okay, this is impossible. Chat knows I've done that in streaming. It's just so punishing and the start is too difficult. I don't know. So
yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, in the gold stake series, if I take more than one run, I talk about it. And so on the black deck, I think that one took me, I don't know, 7 or 8 tries in order to get a win. The plasma deck was the hardest for me. I think that one took me like 11 or 12 tries. But most of them I was able to do in just the first maybe 1 or 2 tries.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, that
Yeah, so
really shows.
A challenge for me is, I don't, since I put out a video every day, sometimes up to 10 videos in the same week, I don't have an infinite amount of time to just keep playing runs. And so all of the runs that you see are like 90% of the runs that I play. You get to see everything.
And
so if I'm successful, that means I was successful. If I was unsuccessful, then you're not going to see that one, but there's not too many of those because I just don't have time to be unsuccessful.
That's that's a statement. I don't have time to be unsuccessful. But the and when you have a run that just dies off or whatever, you were recording that because you didn't know that you were lose.
Yeah.
So you do the commentary every
then,
time anyway.
Yeah, and so like without doing any editing, sometimes the intro to like get it right, it takes me like 20 takes to record the intro, like the first like 2 minutes of the video. And then after doing, spending 30 minutes on just the intro, then I'll go into the run, we'll get like 40 minutes in, and then like, oh, we lose. All right, everything is trash. We throw it all away, we start over.
But why? I mean, yeah, why don't you edit anything? I don't mean like cut stuff, but just record the intro, and then you wanna have the complete piece of content. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess like the main reason why is it's just another thing that I have to learn, which maybe would not take me very long to learn. I've learned harder things. It would probably take me only a couple of minutes to like figure out the editing, some kind of editing software. But now it's kind of like part of the channel identity where, everything is raw. We just do it all in one take, or, 2 takes if we lose the run.
I see. So now you're fucked. I mean, you cannot edit anymore. Yeah. I did notice that the intro got fairly fast. Like the first ones were like, okay, now let's talk about the deck, and you explain everything. And now it's like, yeah, let's jump in the game. But I appreciate that. At the end, you cannot repeat every time everything. So
Yeah. If we're now we're on episode 50 or whatever it is, and so we know the decks, we know the jokers, we kind of like know the basic strategy, or at least that is the assumption. If you're watching this long, or if you're even just jumping in the middle, you're familiar enough with the game, you've watched other people's content as well, and so I don't need to explain as much unless there's something like new and specific to whatever challenge that we're on.
Makes sense. And it makes the... Yeah, I feel like now you can... That's the good part about the numbers, right? So you know at what point you're joining. Maybe I'm searching for something specific, like, I don't know, the plasma deck something. Then I hit episode 23, but at least I know I'm at the 23rd episode of something. So if you maybe you're not... explaining everything, is because we are on that episode, so that makes sense. It's completely fine.
Yeah. Also, there's have different types of videos for different viewers, and like some people want to see sort of like the base game with the random seeds, play the gold stakes, play the challenges. Some people want to see these like really long endless runs, and that's like a different part of the audience potentially, or they want to see these like hyper optimized seeded runs, and that's like another different part of the audience. And so for those different audiences, the tutorialization is different, the conversation is different. I'm thinking about if you're coming into this video for this type of thing, your understanding of the game is different potentially.
Yeah. And it sometimes on the gold stakes, you had very good runs that I would have liked to see endless. I don't know if there's...
Yeah, there were a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them really felt like something that could go up a lot. I don't know if you still have the rest of it. Maybe you could publish them in some April Fool's event or something to give the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't know. My bar is kind of high for what makes an interesting run. And so, with the gold stakes or, the challenges, I just want to get the checkbox. I just want to, okay, we did the thing, and then now we can walk away for it forever. And so, what might seem like a good, fun, endless run for someone else maybe is not interesting to me. And then I want to, separately set up something that's interesting to me.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think all of my questions have been asked. If you still have questions for me or whatever, chat. Somebody in chat is asking if you want to play. Chat, why did you pick me?
Yeah.
What? It's like you have, I don't know, a pro player of tennis, and then you watch me fat fuck play tennis. Why? You should have made him play. Whatever. I will listen to your suggestions.